Hey, welcome back to First Gen Wealth. I am super excited to have our next guest, Annie Ludington, my partner in crime. She does a lot for our company at Success Group Mortgage and Servicing, and she just has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to real estate investing, just great business sense, and she's a great friend. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to get into some of the stuff regarding your real estate investing and how you got started in that, what your plans are with that. Obviously, this show is, we talk about that a lot. But we have some very exciting news that I feel like we just need to get off our chest. At least I do. And I want to talk about that. So,
all right,
never seen before. There's nobody knows this. Our film crew has no idea. But since you joined our company, we've always talked about the growth of the company, the direction of the company, and you have been involved in those conversations, even early on with zero experience in the mortgage industry. And I don't know exactly how the conversation started or when it started to shift, but there was a time where I mentioned to you, like, I'm not going to want to do this forever. And we need to start thinking of some type of succession plan. And that conversation evolved into, what does it look like for Annie Ludington to become an owner of this company? And so for the last few months, we've been having more serious conversation about that, figuring out what the valuation of our company is, which is a whole new experience for both of us, really. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, within the next few days, unless something crazy happens and you decide to change your mind, you will become an owner of Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. Yeah. So, I think that's, thank you, Micah. Yeah, follow your dad's lead. I think it's awesome and exciting, and it doesn't mean that like our company's changing in any way, but it really is, because it's going to give you a bigger voice into the direction of our company, and just overall being more involved with our vision and helping create our vision. So congratulations. And I want to just let you talk a little bit about, like, the decision-making process of when you look at an investment like that, because you've always done real estate, but now a brand new opportunity of becoming a part owner in a company. Like, where did you start with that mindset, and then, like, how did it evolve into, yes, I'm going to do it, because it's a big commitment that you're making in this company.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for the opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best decision joining Success Group, and it's truly like family. You and Missy especially are like my family. And decision wise, with any investment, I mean, you can succeed or fail. And you got to go into it knowing that you're going to succeed. Any investment's a gamble. Where I'm going to put my money, it could go wrong, but you have to work hard to make sure it goes right. So in investing in the ownership of Success Group, I know we're just going to kill it even more than we are now. Yeah. And grow more, and it's going to be good.
It is going to be good. And I think, like you said, any investment you make, and when you say that, I'm thinking like what stock to pick or what mutual fund, or when your money's in the market, you don't have a lot of control over that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons why Randy and I know you do too, love real estate, because you can work at it and make it more profitable with sweat equity, with the right decisions, with the right price, selling at the right time. And you have a lot more control over that money. You're not relying on a company in a different state making the decisions that may or may not align with what your goals are. Mm-hmm. And with this company, owning a business now is a lot like real estate. You are going to have control over some of the decision making, control over the marketing, control over hiring, control over all aspects of the growth of the company. And it's ultimately you and us that we're relying on to turn our investment and our time and energy into our more profitable venture. So I think it's awesome. And I know that the rest of our ownership group, we are super excited. Cause that was, you know, you and I talked about this long before we even brought it up to anyone else in our ownership group, our current ownership group, but I knew that they would be on board with it just because of the type of person you are. So, so it's super exciting to have you join us and help lead our company in a new direction. So congratulations. And if you're watching this, or when you watch this, I should say, reach out to Annie, congratulate her. It's super exciting to see this small local company just continue to find new ways to grow. And with her becoming part of our ownership group, it's going to be awesome. All right. So shifting gears, talk to me a little bit about, when you started, when did you do your first real estate investment deal? Like what did it entail and where are you at with that now? And
yeah. So, in April of 2018, I bought my first investment property and I bought it as a primary residence. So it's a triplex. I still own it. I lived in it for about a year. And it was every property I buy now, I buy with the intent that it has potential. So, this house, just a massive house with peeling paint all over. But I walk through the inside. I'm like, this place is pretty cool. So bought it. And I thought $70,000 was just extremely expensive at the time. Now looking back, it's like, what a deal. And that was just the jump start to everything. Because my tenants were paying my mortgage plus some, plus I was on the Dave Ramsey train. So I was like 25% of my income. And I was selling cars at the time. So I was commission, putting 25% on my mortgage every month and to the point where I paid it off. And then
congratulations again.
Thanks. And that just kind of hedged, like, that's my safety net of having it paid off, having that income come in. But like nights and weekends, I was out there scraping the house, painting it. It was a big process. My whole summer was just gone. And then the next year, Randy started a little business, a painting business that I think I was one of two first customers and one of the last.
Correct. Yes, that venture did not last long.
He gave me a great deal. And so they finished the second half of the house within like a month or two. And it was very nice watching someone else do that while I was working 70 hours a week at the dealership. But then COVID happened, and I wanted to buy, my intent is to buy like a property a year, because I do want it for, some sort of a retirement plan, in addition to what I put away in the investments. But in inflation, I was just like, if I have any money in savings right now, it's not doing me any good just sitting there. So I bought my second property, single family, and that's been leased out ever since. And then I just bought a new duplex. And so now I have 3 properties, 6 total units, and looking to buy more.
Yeah, and you've sold how many in that time frame? You sold at least one.
I've only sold my primary home.
Gotcha. Okay. So 2018, how old were you ish?
Just turned 24.
Just turned 24. You bought a 3-unit property. You lived in one of the units. So you had 2 people paying for the mortgage plus some.
Yeah.
So essentially a 24-year-old newly career, focused young woman, that's living rent free essentially.
Yeah.
And you've paid it off, so in less than 6 years, which is incredible. Now, $70,000. It's not a lot of money. It's not like you bought a $500,000 house, but there's still, you have this asset now that's cash flow, 100% cash flow positive. We're now in 2024, and I hear all the time that there's a housing affordability issue. If you're a first-time home buyer, how the heck are you going to buy a house? Is there still an opportunity to duplicate what you did? If I'm a 24-year-old person listening to this show, can it still be done?
Yeah, absolutely. At the time when I bought it, I was not in the mortgage industry at all. And the person helping with the mortgage, they didn't have a whole lot of options. I had to put the 20% down and everything. But right now, if you are looking to duplicate what I did, you could buy a house with as low as 5% down.
A 3-unit, you're saying?
Yeah, a 3-unit, multi-unit, with 5% down. And so there's ways to do it with a lot less money. And I think it's just getting motivated to save those extra dollars, to have that mindset that you're going to be buying that investment property and fully launch your like financial stability. Mm-hmm. Because I think people get so stuck, but they don't know that they can just start. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the key things too that you mentioned, so you were on the Dave Ramsey plan, which Randy and I've talked about in the past, and that is a plan. It's not the only plan, but it is a plan that helps you get out of debt, pay off your mortgage, save for retirement. It's all laid out very, very simply. Mm-hmm. And he's got a great podcast, by the way, Real Life People Calling In, and he's, his plan helped me out significantly at a time in my life, long ago too. But you had the discipline to say, okay, I'm putting 25% of my income towards this mortgage. I'm going to knock this out quickly. So even though, from an expense standpoint, you literally didn't have any because you've got your rental income covering, you still knew that as a goal to pay that. You wanted to pay that off. Now that's not everybody's goal with real estate. Sometimes, there's a lot of people, that will say debt on real estate's a good thing and then just invest whatever your personal preference is when it comes to building wealth that way. But to duplicate what you did, it can be done, but you have to have the discipline to budget and to pay extra.
And I was just fresh out of college. I just kept the mindset of I'm still a college student. I'm still going to shop and coupon and live on a shoestring budget, because any extra $1,000 I made was just catapulting, just paying off student loans or the house, or I'm so happy I did it now because it has created a base of just security in my life. And I think when people finally get that salary job where they're making decent money, they just spend it so easily. Yeah. And it's easy to spend money. It's very easy.
Extremely, especially when you're in real estate. Sometimes it's way too easy to spend money. You've had some pretty expensive projects, whether it's the house you live in or even that house. You did a lot of work to that. There's the before and after. That was before you and I really knew each other, but the before and after pictures I've seen. I mean, it's a really cute house now, and it was not like that when you bought it for sure. And you own, so now you have 3 rental properties, and then plus the house that you live in, you own 2. So you own 4 properties, plus now you are an owner of a worldwide mortgage company. Right? Worldwide, yeah. We've got investors in Spain and Israel. So it's a pretty cool thing. And it all started with a decision to buy a dumpy 3-unit property in Owasso that you saw potential in, that you knew you could fix up and make it your own, give it style, and now you've got 3 great tenants too. I see one of them every month at the beginning of the month. So,
I've been very fortunate with my tenants.
Yes. Yeah. So with this unit, I know you have coin operated laundry in that building. Is that the only building you have that, or okay? So another income potential with this property. I know it's not a crazy amount of money that you make, but give me an idea of what this coin operated laundry looks like.
It's probably been a negative so far
Okay.
because I've had to buy 2 brand new coin operated, a washer and a dryer, thanks to Gilbert's, but they're very expensive.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term game with that. And so far, I just increased the prices, but it's probably about $100 a month for 3 single ladies. And so I roll up the quarters one evening and return them, and it's just cash money,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah. All right. But you said it's a long game. So
It is.
You had to buy 2 brand new ones because the previous ones broke, or
Yeah.
did it come with the washer and dryer like that
No.
when you bought it?
Nope. So I got a hand-me-down. My parents own quite a bit of rentals as well, and they had an extra unit, and I thought it would be a good idea. So put the dryer in and found a washer on Facebook Marketplace in Dearborn, and that and you actually told me, what is the value of your time, Annie, when I got that, because I took half a day off to drive to Dearborn. On the way down there, I got a huge chip in my windshield. So that was $550. And writing off things off Facebook Marketplace just is kind of, it's not as easy as having a receipt from Gilbert's.
Yeah.
And so I think I would have been better off if I just had Gilbert's install it for me.
Yeah, buy it, install it,
and write another loan while I.
Yeah. Well, the value of time, like people, and
Yeah.
hey, if you're cutting the coupons and you are doing everything you can to save a buck, like whatever, each their own.
Yeah.
But I think you really have to evaluate, like, what is it really costing you?
Yeah.
And it's, the value of time, opportunity costs, however you want to look at it. So I'm glad you brought that up. So hour and a half. So 3-hour round trip to Dearborn,
Yeah.
how it takes you to load it up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 5 hours in
Yeah.
to save a few $100.
Yeah.
And
a chip windshield.
a chipped windshield.
So I had to drive
gas
to the
and mileage.
it was a whole thing.
And I tell you, when you leave the office, I'm like, I like you in there because we have so much fun.
Yeah.
So I get lonely. I don't want you to leave. So whether it's mowing your lawn, you have to weigh those types of things.
Yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur, like, does it make sense for you to go home early, mow your lawn, take the 2 hours, pay the gas, get the oil change on your lawnmower, all that stuff, when you can pay somebody to do it, and then focus that 2 hours on how can I use that 2 hours to make more money? How can I use that 2 hours to become more efficient, become better at whatever you are doing? And it's not always about money, because investing your time in something, there's so many other things you can focus that energy on that will benefit you and your employees, your family, whatever it is. And I'm not saying, like, go hire everything done, but I think when you start evaluating things like that a little bit differently, it's a different way of thinking.
And that dryer only lasted a year.
So props to Gilbert's, because they do a great job with not only great prices, local company, they do a lot for the community, but they install stuff and fix stuff too. So
Always buy local if you can. We pat your back, they pat ours.
Yes. And we've done some business with some of their employees. So it's definitely a win-win. And they're actually delivering stoves and refrigerators for the apartments right now as we speak.
We just got back.
They're good people at Gilbert's. So speaking of valuing your time, I value what you do and your perspective on the market. I know that you are constantly educating yourself, whether it's through trainings that our partners have or, studying the Barry Habib way of thinking, whatever it is. You are what I consider an expert in the mortgage business. So the Fed just decided to cut rates by 0.5% a few weeks ago. And so I just want to get your perspective, because if you're like me, you've gotten some texts, you've gotten some emails, some calls. Like, people are wondering, like, what's that mean? Are you guys super busy now? Does it make sense for you to refinance? I heard rates are at 3%, whatever rumors are. So just give me a little bit of an idea of, like, what that means for us, and then what it means for the consumer too when the Fed cuts rates or raises rates.
So like anything in the stock market, because rates are based off of the market, it's already baked into the market. So that's the biggest thing. Like the noise and gossip of things going on. Like the Fed cut has been kind of, we've been foreseeing that they're going to cut rates. So when they did cut the rates, we saw a little bit of a drop in rates, but it was already kind of baked in from the couple weeks prior. It does make sense for a lot of people to refinance, especially if they bought last year. Last fall, really, like we were financing people like 7.5%, like really qualified people at 7.5. And now we've like, it makes total sense for all those people to refinance. But just day to day, it can be so different. So when we reach out to people, we're like, okay, it's time. And if they wait a day, it's like, well, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So it's very time of the essence.
It is. So I know the day very well. It was August 2nd because it was my mom's birthday. And you were out of the office for something, I don't remember. So we saw enough movement back on August 2nd where it made sense for a lot of people to refinance. And so I went out to dinner for my mom's birthday, and then I went back to the office, and then I was back on Saturday, back on Sunday, and I had a lot of clients that took advantage of that phone call or that text, like, hey, it makes sense, like right now we need to do this. By Monday afternoon, so 2nd, 3rd, 4th, by Monday afternoon of the 5th, things had already changed enough to where the rest of the people on my list that I hadn't gotten to didn't make sense to do it.
Yeah. And I think people also don't understand that rates do change within a moment. Like, especially if people are shopping around. I always tell clients, like, make sure when you're shopping same day, and understand that rates can change the very next day. So it's to compare apples to apples, like, you really want to do the same thing. I've
heard, well, how much of a difference can it really make? Well, if that's your attitude, why are you even shopping? How much of a difference can it really make from one place to the next? I do think it's important to shop with brokers because our business model, whether it's us or any other broker across the state of Michigan, our business model, we have relationships with us personally. Our company has a relationship with 17 different banks and lenders across the country. And it could be a lot more. We get solicited every single day to sign up with new banks and lenders. I'm like, we've got enough. So company A and company B could be slightly different today, and company A is better. Well, tomorrow company B could be better because everyone is always adjusting their margins just slightly. And they've got to make X amount per transaction based on their employee count, based on their market conditions, based on their capacity to underwrite and process loans. Because if company gets super busy because their rates have been super low, well, it's natural for them to increase because they don't have the capacity to continue to take on more and more and more. So I think when you shop with a broker, and those are like the local, mom and pop shops, they're not running commercials on TV, rarely on radio. That's where you get the best deal. And that's where you have the most options. And I think it's crazy that that's not more well known because, and that's mainly because we don't have the budget to market. We can't do a Super Bowl ad. It's because our pricing's way, way better. And
we just do some podcasts.
We just do some podcasts, which, believe it or not, I mean, the demand is getting so crazy from this podcast. So I think it's important to shop with local brokers, but you hit the nail on the head. Like even same day, I mean, literally an hour before we got here, we got alert to lock because the bond market had been deteriorating throughout the day, which means our lenders, there's a good chance that even throughout the day, they're going to say, hey, we have to adjust pricing based on what's available right now. So when Annie or I, or really whoever your banker is, when they reach out to you, say, hey, it makes sense to refinance, like you have to really evaluate, and move forward quickly, or you really have to just trust who you're working with. And if you don't trust who you're working with, then give us a call and we'll will help hopefully better explain that process to you. Because all it's going to take is a little bit more movement downward for you and I to have another list of, a dozen people where it's like, it makes sense now, and I can't guarantee it's going to make sense by the end of the day.
Yep.
So you have to act quickly. And I know when we make those calls, it might catch you off guard, but it's like, it's really for your benefit. And ours too. We do get compensated when we write a loan. Go figure. But it helps you, and we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we're putting you in a bad spot.
Yeah, we're not going to reach out to someone just because it's
got to make sense.
Yeah.
It's got to make sense. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. I am so proud of you. And I'm so excited for us.
Yeah, me too.
Assuming that, like I said, we're like 3 days away from this happening. So by the time this airs, it should be official. And if it's not, then we may just not air this episode. Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much for tuning in to First Gen Wealth. We'll see you next time.